Okay, so we're talking about ICM. I guess we need to think of a few things. First of all, what is it? When and where is it used? Oh, that would be applications of ICM, some of the pros and cons of ICM, and then are there any alternatives? Whoops. Okay, so first thing is, what is ICM? And I've just taken this definition off of Wikipedia. So in poker, the independent chip model, that's what ICM stands for, is a mathematical model used to calculate a player's overall equity in a tournament. The model uses stack sizes alone, and this is really important because this is sort of one of the things that my proposed alternative focuses on. Uses stack sizes alone to determine how often a player will finish in each position, first, second, etc. A player's probability of finishing in each position is then multiplied by the prize amount for that position, and those numbers are added together to determine the player's overall equity. So this is similar to what we were doing when we were looking at calculating chip EV. And so what ICM does is it says, hey, we're not playing to maximize chips, we're playing to maximize dollar value, and we want an accurate representation of what our stack is worth. And so we're going to figure out how often our stack size finishes in each of the positions that pay. Well, in each position, period, but all the ones that pay are the ones that are actually going to add equity to our stack. So we're going to use a model to determine how often our stack finishes in each of the paying positions, and then we're going to multiply how often we finish in that position, multiplied by the prize of that position, and we're just going to sum each of those together, and then that'll give us the total value of our stack, sort of based on how often we finish in each position that pays. So that's essentially what ICM is saying. ICM is used exclusively in formats with prize pools, and that's so that chip EV is not guaranteed to equal dollar EV. Obviously, there are spots in tournaments where chip EV will still equal dollar EV, or be, a good enough approximation that we feel, comfortable using it as roughly true. So obviously, ICM only applies to MTTs, sit and goes, satellites, that are pretty much anywhere where you're using chips to win a spot in a prize pool, and you can't cash out the chips for money, just as they are. It's a better measure of dollars than chip EV, generally speaking, right? I mean, we can quite easily calculate the chip EV of a lot of plays. We're fairly familiar with how to do so, and that's not overly complicated. What is complicated, though, is determining how often those chips, or how much value those chips give us, based on the prize pool, as I mentioned. And so ICM in a tournament is sort of a better indication. Like, you can say, oh, I'm winning lots of chips here, but are those chips worth a lot? Well, maybe they are, maybe they aren't, and ICM will tell you that. And so it helps us model some complicated spots. For example, if somebody's about to bust in a tournament, intuitively you can say, oh, well, I should be tighter here because player number 4 is going to bust soon, and I'm going to get to ladder up. But, how often is he going to bust? How much tighter should I be? If I'm normally opening 30% from the cutoff, and he's going to bust soon, should I be a little tighter and be opening 25 or 22%, or should I be opening a lot tighter and be opening 7%, or maybe even just not opening at all? There's spots where both of those scenarios are certainly true, and so modeling the scenario and using an ICM calculating program will allow us to quantify exactly how much tighter we need to be, or how much looser, because it obviously can work the other way. If everybody else has to be tight, it's possible that you should be looser than normal. As with any model, it's not without its drawbacks. Some of the cons are that it is somewhat complicated. Not only is it a little complicated to understand, but even once you have a good grasp of it, it's sometimes complicated to see exactly how pronounced the effects are. So it's not difficult to spot a spot, or to see a spot, I guess, where you should be tighter, right? Like, oh, that guy's, as I said, oh, that guy's about to bust, I should play tighter. That's the easy part. The tricky part is saying, how much tighter should I be? Should I be if I'm opening 25%, as I mentioned before, should I be tighter and playing 22%, or tighter and playing 18%, or tighter and playing 10%, or tighter and just folding everything? And so that's the complicated part. Even if you understand it intuitively, you still need to do some work so that you can really make adjustments to your game that are maximizing EV. Some of the other cons are that it's fairly poorly understood. For example, some ICM spots involve assuming that the other guy is playing according to ICM as well, and people often forget that. So, if let's say we're at a final table and there's 5 people left, and I'm the overwhelming chip leader in the big blind, and you're the second stack, or I'm the overwhelming chip leader in the small blind, and you're the second stack in the big blind, I'm going to be jamming fairly wide there, or very wide, because let's say there's a couple of two of the other 3 players are on like sub 5 big blinds, so they're about to bust. So it's really expensive for you to bust there, and so you should fold almost always, because busting in 5th is a disaster when you could be guaranteed to move up 2 spots, essentially, is what's happening there. And so an ICM calculator is going to tell me to shove really, really wide and tell you to call really, really tight. If you are still unsure of what I'm talking about, or feel like you need some more work or whatever, there's a couple good resources if you're unfamiliar with it. There's a brief overview in the Mathematics of Poker. It's by no means, super in-depth or anything, but it will cover the basics. And then Sauce made a video, and I put the date here and the name. It's called ICM Intro. It came out on September 26th. I think it's Elite. It probably is because it's Sauce, but I didn't actually check that. But anyway, if you have an Elite membership, you can certainly see that. And if you have Essential membership, go take a look. I'm honestly not sure if it's Elite or Essential. But he did some stuff, and with regards to ICM, and it's a little more in-depth and advanced than what I'm doing, because this is just meant to serve as an intro, although ironically his is called Intro. But anyway,